Fun fact, NATO's Article 5 has only been invoked once. Can you guess for who? Article 5 is the one that says if one of us is attacked, we're all attacked. It's kind of the biggie. It's kind of the whole point of the treaty. It was invoked after September 11th. Now, granted, it was invoked on behalf of the United States by other NATO members, but it did result in 2 military operations. Operation Eagle Assist, where NATO sent over several aircraft and crew to help the U.S. patrol its skies for several months, and Operation Active Endeavor, which was a maritime operation, basically patrolling the Mediterranean. That one lasted for 15 years. And then got replaced by a non-Article 5 version. It was designed to stop the movement of WMDs, or weapons of mass destruction, and terrorists. WMDs. I'm sure that term is giving some of you flashbacks, but I'll get to that. Soon after the attacks, you may remember the United States began its invasion of Afghanistan, which became a 20-year nightmare. But despite never acknowledging this, the U.S. didn't do it alone, and it counted on the support and involvement of several allies. Several NATO members did follow the United States onto the battlefield. Another country that lent its support was Ukraine. Not only did it allow use of its airspace and air bases, it also participated in the NATO-led International Security Assistance Forces in Afghanistan with troops. Despite a lot of people complaining about the U.S. having a military presence in a lot of NATO countries, this is the perfect example of why the U.S. benefits from being able to have a military presence in a lot of NATO countries. This is also, by the way, Zelensky mentioned the U.S. benefiting from having an ocean between itself and most of the rest of the world. It puts the U.S. a little bit more out of reach to the rest of the world, but it also puts the rest of the world a little bit more out of reach of the U.S. In February of 2003, U.S. Secretary of State Colin Powell sat before the UN Security Council and lied for an hour, making the case for the U.S. invasion of Iraq to go find WMDs. Support for the U.S. invasion of Iraq reached 74% in the United States. Elsewhere, not so much. Once again, the U.S. counted on a lot of support from its allies, this time based on its lies. Among those, the U.K., Spain, and of course, Ukraine. Despite a majority of Spaniards opposing the invasion of Iraq, our conservative government decided to go ahead and help our allies anyway. As a result, Madrid then suffered a terrorist attack, 11M, where a series of coordinated bombs went off on multiple commuter trains while people were going to work one morning. For the record, this is quite literally my community. Multiple teachers and faculty didn't make it to school that day because they rode those same commuter trains. My friends' family members helped pull bodies out of the rubble. It was the worst attack in Spain's history, taking 193 and injuring 2,500 others. All because despite our skepticism, our government decided to be an ally to the United States of America. A little over a year later, London was hit with a similar attack, 7/7, where 52 were lost and 800 were injured. Again, because they chose to be an ally and trust the United States by getting involved. But they're not the only ones who made the mistake of being an ally to the United States. Ukraine did too. Over 6,000 Ukrainians performed military service in Iraq and Kuwait during the war. In fact, it was the largest military operation ever performed by the armed forces of Ukraine until 2014. And the annexation of Crimea. They never did find those WMDs. Being a shitty ally keeps absolutely no one safe. Good luck with the next attack.